What's up, guys? Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. This is part 5, and we're gonna go right back into this and hopefully make a better machine that can launch into space. We're in a pretty bad situation here, and so we gotta try to get ourselves out of this mess and work our way up the ladder of success. Oh yeah, I wasn't actually attempting to rhyme with that, but it works. So we're gonna go with the basic design here. I figured out a different way to try to build us a launch thing, so that way we could actually break into orbit, full orbit. I've yet to get successful with it, but soon enough we will have it working. Okay, so I need to make this exactly 10. What? I don't want to let me put any more on there. Why is it saying that? Okay, that's weird. That was like all red. I don't know why that was red, but whatever. Okay, so one more. And then our engine. We need the swivel. We need the Reliant, I think. No? I forget which one it was. It's a swivel. Yeah, the swivel is the one that you can change the direction of which way it's thrusting, which is very important apparently, because the new aerodynamic system, you can't really fly in any direction with a standard Reliant one. It doesn't work. It just does not work. I've tried, and I've tried again. Each and every single time I've used that engine, it just ends up going right back to the ground. So that's not the engine to use. This one has less thrust, but it's able to be moved because of the thimble in it. Yeah, I believe it's a thimble. Or gimbal, that's it. My bad. Thimbles for sewing. I'm such a moron when it comes to that. Alright, so we'll get some decouplers on here. We've got a strategy that actually works for us, and with that we're going to attempt to make it to full orbit around Kerbin, which is pretty difficult for us so far because we have not managed to do it at all. Not even once. Let's get us some of these. These are important, guys. It's gonna cause us to spin like crazy, but it will keep us straight up all the way. And also, guys, if you haven't noticed yet, strutting everything will definitely help, especially with the new aerodynamics. Your stuff will fall apart quite often if you do not, and you don't want them breaking loose and falling apart anywhere else. You want them to stay on track and keeping you steady. That's the important part of it. And then we put these ones a little bit lower. I don't know how other people build their launch systems, but this is kind of my version of a launch system. I like to do this because it keeps things steady. Even though you turn a lot, it's probably not the best one by far. But it works for me. It seems to work, so I like it. It's all good. But there's all type of other different strategies and such. Once I unlock the rockets, you'll start seeing different, better ways of doing it, because the rockets are like the actual version of things meant for that. I think we're a little too high up on this, so I gotta take this and bring it down some, just long enough to cover that bottom there. Yeah, okay, so that pushes that engine off the ground, which is important. Okay, it looks alright, right? Alright. Now I just need to attach some utility stuff on here just in case. We don't want to fall down, so it might be a little bit difficult to attach this parachute, but nope, there it is. Okay. It should only need one, that's fine. And then we'll throw some battery packs on there for the whole sheer purpose of it. I don't think we have any solar panels yet, so we cannot do much in the way of that. But we can attach a goo container, and we can attach a thermometer to measure the heat of the planets that we go by, as well as the air itself. And just because it's a space station, or the start to what I want to make a space station, I'm going to throw one of those transmitters on there. And so yeah, I think we're ready to attempt our launch. Somebody wanted me to call one Victorial 1. I'm not sure why, but yeah. They wanted me to go with a Victorial idea on there. I'm going to use Valentina. She's my favorite. And so far, she has not let me down. We've been getting higher and higher with her every time, so we're going to keep going with that idea. Now, being as we're in career mode, starting out is a little bit more difficult than if you were in creative mode or the other, the science mode. That's it. Those modes, they start you off with better stuff. With this one, you're started with the bare basics, quite literally. And so we've got them set in designs. These ones are going to go off first. They should get us to about 10,000 kilometers, or 10,000 meters rather. And then we decouple, and then we fire up the next set, which should get us close to 25 to 30,000 meters. And then our last engine should push us up into space and out of the atmosphere. But we got to time it right in order to create an orbit, a successful orbit, and we're going to go ahead and launch here. It might take a little bit to pick up speed, but it should work overall. I'm going to zoom away a little bit so it ain't so loud. And as you can see, we're pretty steady. We're going straight up. It's going to start out really, really slow because it lags a bit because of how big it is. It will start rotating more than likely, but once it gets up there, it'll start picking up speed up to like 900 to 1,000 meters per second, which is crazy. As you can see, it's starting to really pick up speed now. As it picks up speed, we're going to start moving in a spiral. And I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it's got enough of them that it's keeping us completely straight, which is cool. Last time I used it with only 4, and I was spinning like crazy. Like rotating. Not really spinning and like going down and such, but I was going straight up but spinning in a circle. Where I hit 200 meters a second. Basically, once you pass 1,000 meters a second, you got to be careful on how fast you're going, because if you don't have a heat shield on the top of it, it's going to explode everything. Quite literally. You don't want that. New aerodynamics and heating system is very dangerous for that, and probably not the best way to do things, really. We're going to hit 300 meters a second, and then these engines are going to burn out. So it actually got us to about 500 or 5K. Let's decouple them. We're going to hold off on the next engines. As you can see, this system works quite well. It decouples them, they separate, it breaks the struts, and they fall straight down. It's very good. It's perfect for a way to get up there. We've hit 5K. Let's check our apoapsis. About 8K. So once we hit about 8K, that's when we're going to fire up the next engines. It's important for timing, because if you don't time it right, you're not going to get where you need to be to get into space. I have hit space with this setup before, and it has been a successful orbit, but I was out of fuel and I couldn't re-land, so it was pretty crazy like that. What's our missions? Okay, we got to test a Rocco brand decoupler. I don't have that in our orbits of Kerbin. That's the one we're going for. We're going to try to orbit Kerbin. As you can see, we got 3.6K solid fuel, and we're going to fire up our next engines. And that should get us straight up, really. Should definitely get us past 25K rather easily. If we check our apoapsis, you can see it's picking up really quickly here. Yeah, see, 25K very easily with this setup. And that should get us up into enough space. As you can see, look at this. That air effect is showing that you're picking up a lot of heat by getting this much speed. And once these engines die, we're going to be pretty much at the point where we can't do anything else until that cools off, because that's getting really, really hot there. As you can see by the very, very bright red, we've hit over 1,000 meters a second. It's now dangerous, but we can't shut those engines off until they burn out of fuel. And this will get us definitely past space, I believe. Yeah, we're going to hit 95,000 meters into the air. I believe this is the one that we needed to get fully into space, and this should work just fine. I believe it should work. We'll go ahead and turn the thrust down and put that on there so the fuel shows up there. Got 720 liquid fuel. We're going to be just sitting here cruising for a while because we've got until 95,000 meters before we can do anything about that. So let's go ahead and give out a crew report. We'll send it, even though we've already done the crew report for suborbit. That's what we're going into right now. We're going into a suborbit, and so on. We should be able to get into space rather easily with this setup. It's a really good setup for getting into space with little to no effort on your shuttle's parts. Like, usually those two launch sequences get you up there at a speed that's so high you're almost at the point of exploding. But you won't, because you don't pass 1,000 meters a second too much. So if you get like 1,200 or so, you're probably going to explode. That's not even cool. You don't want to do that. Save the Kerbals, guys. Save the Kerbals. We will protest and save all Kerbals. But aside from that, I think we're gonna hit up in space here. I can't really do too much about it. We'll speed it up a little bit. But once we get up to about 80,000, I guess, we want to try to make our apoapsis go in a circle. Or I don't know what I'm thinking. Prograde, that's it. We're going to prograde once we hit to about 80,000. And we're going to start prograding, which looks like we're going to have to turn to the right a little bit here. A yellow circle is the prograde marker. And we want to get our little yellow dot in the middle of our triangle thingy there, right in the center of that as best we can. And then we want to fire up our fuel, or our engine here. It's a little bit touchy. It's quite a bit touchy, really. This engine setup and the amount of size of this rocket. Oops. Hope we don't land into the atmosphere. That wouldn't be cool, because I accidentally deployed the parachute. As you can see, our rocket's actually going that way now. So we are forming in orbit slowly but surely. We gotta keep it lined up with this, and as we are using the engine, it's a bit easier to turn, so we can keep with the prograde rather quickly and easily. Let's go ahead and shut off our engine again until we get up to the apoapsis, because otherwise we're just wasting our fuel and we're going to wind up like right over here. We don't want that. We want to try to make a full orbit. And our speed has really died down from the initial 1K that we had going on there, but that's alright. let's just let's go ahead and EVA. Actually, I don't think we can. We can't EVA, can we? No, we cannot. We have not upgraded the facility needed to EVA, so we cannot EVA yet. But look at her, man. She is just enjoying this. She's having so much fun right there. And we are almost at the apoapsis again. Let's turn this over a little bit and get into the prograde again. There we go. We're a little bit above the center of Kerbin's orbit. Let's go ahead and fire up again. And then once this gets to about 140k, we'll click off the engine again and kind of coax our way to there. We're probably going to be low on fuel if we do manage a full orbit, but that's okay. We can always build a fuel station later and dock it. I don't think we can dock this one though, because there is no docking clamps, but at the same time we shouldn't really need them. We should be alright to create a full orbit around there and have just enough fuel to knock us back to the planet if we choose to. If we do not have enough fuel, then I guess Valentina is kind of stuck in the space, but that's okay. She'll be in the orbit, giving us full-time live review of Kerbin and all its greatness. And so yeah, just look at her. She's having a great time. So how's your guys' day been? Has it been pretty good? Cause yeah, hopefully this is entertaining for y'all. I try, but at the same time I try to keep things a bit serious here. It does take a lot of work to get into space in Kerbin, and with that we're hitting 150,000 meters here. Pretty close to that. And once we get to about 148, I'm gonna hit the engine again. Alright, coming up real close. Here we go. Let's see if we can make a full orbit around Kerbin. It's gotta be a very difficult challenge here, but we're starting to make the orbit rather quickly. And surprisingly, we're doing pretty good on fuel as well. Alright, so our apoapsis isn't too far. Let's kill the engine and wait it out till we're closer to 154. Because we don't want to run out of fuel. We're currently on a sub-orbit route, even though we're this far out. Sub-orbit is not an orbit. It's only partial orbit, of course. Alright, hit that engine again. We should be able to make it, but I'm not quite certain. We try to stay as close to the apoapsis as we can so that the prograde increases the amounts of height on the other side. And we are almost into a full orbit. Here we go. Ready? Here it comes. Full orbit, guys, right here. Full orbit. Kill the engine. We are now in a full orbit around Kerbin with the apoapsis 169k and the periapsis 113k meters. That is awesome. We have space orbits. And that should have finished our achievement, and that will give us 75,000 whatever currency that is. And 16 research, which is definitely needed at this point, or release our goo. We've already experienced the goo in space, so it's gonna do us no good. But once we can EVA, she can now EVA in space, which will be pretty important later on. But for now, she is stuck in space. She actually has enough fuel to get back to the planet if we chose to. But we're not going to. We're going to keep her in space until we can EVA. So let's go back to the Space Center. And that's going to be it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and hopefully that gave you a bit of a clue on how to get into an orbit over Kerbin. You can do that with pretty much any setup so long as you have the 6 rocket base around the center of your main part, so to say, and you have the 2 stages. it pretty much goes just like that, all the way through that. That's pretty much the basic launch setup, and it works as you've seen. It really does work. It's pretty good. Wow. So we can ferry two guys, or two tourists, on a suborbit flight in Kerbin, which is pretty easy. It'll get us a bunch of money if we take two others with us, but the whole using two different, we don't have a shuttle space for the tourist yet. We do have 20 research. I don't think we can get anything with that though. I don't do the visual survey ones because it's a specific location, and I'm not very good at getting to a specific location. If I could get a space plane going and be able to fly to that location, then it would be no problem. But the fact is, I cannot, because I am terrible at flying space planes, or even getting them to lift off the ground, so to say. I don't know the whole gist of how to do that, so I don't know what is going on with that, but I can never get them off the ground. I try it, but it does not work. Okay, so they want us to test the Mark 16 parachute over Kerbin. That should be rather easy at an altitude of 9,000 to 12,000 meters. That's super easy. And speed over 400 meters a second. That's a little bit more challenging, but we can manage that easily enough. We got up to 1,000 meters a second pretty easily. We could use the same setup and just attach that parachute, and that should be good, and it'll get us a lot of money. And a little bit of research, we could do that. The rest of them is just basically wanting us to test some engines and decouplers. So I think we're gonna take the parachute one, and that's going to be it for this episode, guys. So I will see you guys next time. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. It helps us out a lot. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time with Kerbal Space Program.